You think you're arguing with the truth, right? You think the facts, they will always win. But here's the reality. Most online arguments, they're not about the truth. Truth doesn't matter. They're about status. They're performance of identity, loyalty, and maybe even belonging. And the platforms, they're designed to make sure that you keep performing. Saudi Cup, and welcome to another episode here for the Funky Pod Mindful Media and Communication. And we're diving into, well, what I just discussed in the cold open, right? Why most online arguments are actually just status games. And if you're honest, how media systems reward the worst instincts. And as always, we talk about it, we analyze it, we add some theories to it so that we see why does it work, and maybe even figure out how to break free from all that. So let's start first segment, the face. The face is everything. And if you've ever been in online arguments, and I assume we all have been at some point, eventually they end up feeling pretty personal. Why is that the case? You don't even know those people. And there's one theory, a very old theory from the 80s, that's very applicable in this regard. It's the face negotiation theory. And the face is that your projected image in social interaction. So how do other people see you? That's your face, okay? And when conflict happens, and in this case, we're talking online conflicts, you're not just defending your opinion, you're defending different kinds of faces. Okay, so according to the theory, we have the competence face, like, hey, I know what I'm talking about, I'm smart, like, listen to me, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's the competence face. We have the moral face, like, hey, I'm good, I'm only doing the right things. When I say something, I say it because it's right, not because I have ulterior motives. Okay, I'm good, the moral face. And the third one, the group identity phase. I belong here because I know so much about this. That's why I'm part of like the expert group, for example. Or I've been here for my whole life. I'm part of this fandom, for example. I belong here. I've been here longer than you. Okay, so the competence phase, the moral phase, and the group identity phase. So now conflict online, arguments online, they're not only about issues. It's about saving face, your face, in front of an audience. Yeah, every clapback, every hot take, every thread on X, it's a strategic move to protect face because we know other people will see it. And now let me add another twist. Because there's no real interpersonal context. So there's no body language, no tone, there's no immediacy. So you know, how is it meant? The threat feels bigger online. And when the threat feels bigger, the defense gets louder. That's why arguments go off the rails online. In the real world, most of the arguments that happen online would probably never happen. Right? You see the body language, you know, oh, no, you misunderstood. Oh, no, I didn't mean it like that. But online, you're doubling down. You're like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. What the hell? Right? So the threat feels bigger online. And if the threat feels big, the defense gets loud. Because we know the louder we are, the more right we are. In terms of correct, not on the political spectrum, maybe. The second theory that fits in there is a theory we had before a few times. It's called social identity theory. And it's basically about why you double down on what you said and why you're not really willing to rethink. Okay? Funny enough, also a theory from the 80s. The thing is, if you have beliefs, we don't hold them as isolated thoughts, right? You don't have like different drawers in your mind. It's like belief 1, belief 2, belief 3. No, we don't. All the beliefs we have, they're connected to like who we are, to our identity. And usually, and we talked about this before in the podcast as well, they're also tied to who we are, who we think we are in regards to which groups we belong to. Because as we know, humans are really group. We want to belong to groups. Let me say it like this, right? So we all want to belong to groups. We don't want to be alone. Well, social animals, that's what I was looking for. So we want to belong to groups. And in group communication, we have different kind of groups. To keep it simple, we have in-group and out-groups. Okay, in-groups, the groups I belong to. Out-groups, the groups of the other people. Okay. And usually our beliefs are tied to the groups we're part of, to the in-groups, to the in-group identity. That's how we call it. For example, I'm a free thinker. So I associate with other free thinkers. I'm progressive. So I associate with other progressive people. I'm very rational. I'm old school, and so on. Okay? So then when someone challenges your belief that's tied to this in-group, it threatens your group membership. Say, no. I'm one of those people. I'm one of those progressive people. How dare you challenge my progressiveness? So who gives you the right to challenge my progressiveness? Oh. And because that belonging to a group is equal to us, to safety. Yeah, I'm part of a group. I feel safe in that group. So when someone threatens your belonging and therefore your safety, your brain doesn't rethink like, I wonder why he, she, they, them said that. What did I do that made them say this? No, we don't rethink. We fortify. Like, all right, you're saying this? You're really questioning my belonging to this group? Really? You're threatening my safety with your arguments? Well, so that's kind of what we're doing. Because changing your mind, online in particular, doesn't just feel risky. Like, would I then betray my groups? Yeah, it feels like what I just said. It feels like betrayal, and we don't want to betray the groups we're in. So of course, we're like good group members, right? It's our group that we belong to. That's why you never get someone to change their opinion, their mind online. This is why no one ever loses an argument online, okay? They entrench, they escalate, or they switch topics. You can see, look at Elon when he's having arguments, for example, and I'm not hating on him in particular right now. It's not because they're stupid, but because the social cost of admitting doubt is too high. The social cost meaning maybe I'm not part of this group anymore. Maybe I shouldn't be part of this group anymore. Maybe I'm not as progressive as I thought. Maybe I'm not as old school as I thought. Maybe I'm not as big of a K-pop fan as I thought. Just examples, right? And we don't want to admit that. That's why we keep doubling down, being louder, changing topics, and so on. And the thing is, it's very human, right? So we can't fault us too much for it, even though if we know we could do something about it. But the thing is, the media systems. Oh, I shouldn't wear like a baseball cap. I should wear like a tinfoil hat at this point in the podcast. But the media systems, the platforms, they like it. They let outrage win. And that's the third theory for today. We call it the media systems dependency theory. Okay, media systems dependency theory. Okay, so this theory, Germans and TH, this theory says the more you depend on media for social validation, emotional regulation, and identity, and so on, for thoughts, reinforcement, they're more powerful. The media system become over you. It makes sense if you rely on the media to verify that your thoughts are right, to support you, to give you validation, and so on. Of course, they have lots of influence over you, right? Because you're relying on it. So today, in our 2025 AI social media algorithm era, we're hyper dependent on all those platforms out there, right? For belonging, likes, reposts, just a social media validation. Yeah, for emotions, outrage, moral superiority, like, haha, look at them, I know that's wrong, I'm better than them, and so on. For identity, being seen as what you want to be seen as, informed, correct, loyal, whatever that might be, whatever you want to portray yourself as, right? And those platforms like X, TikTok, IG, Red, Blue Sky. Blue Sky. I really want Blue Sky to be a good platform. Take it out for now. But like Twitter, IG, Red, anything, right? Facebook, if you're a boomer. They're optimized for conflict escalation. Why? Because outrage sticks. Outrage is sticky. Yeah, if you're mad at something, like, you show it to people and you interact with it and you think about it and you might share it. Like, look at this. And certainty spreads faster than nuance. This is wrong. This is right. They want us to do this. They want us to do that. Nuance, there's different viewpoints and different angles to that story. You have to look at different. No one cares about nuance, right? If you're like this and this, certainty spreads much faster than nuance. And this emotional engagement that comes from outrage and ignoring nuance, keeps people scrolling, right? Because you're engaging more, you're sharing it, you're clicking on it, you're showing it to other people, so engagement is higher. That's why. So algorithms reward tribal signaling. And if we agree on that, we can take it one step further and can say that actually, if algorithms reward tribal signaling, then maybe they actually punish bridge building. If you try to be nuanced, if you try to reach out to different sides of the aisle, the algorithms don't really push it, don't really like it. So if they don't push it, if they don't like it, you could say they kind of punish it, right? So even if you want to listen, rethink, the system you're inside rewards you for digging into the same hole deeper and just broadcasting, screaming louder. It doesn't reward you for looking into different areas, into different holes. It just keep digging your hole deeper and scream louder. Tinfoil hat on. No, I keep it on. I keep the tinfoil hat on because the thing is, of course, now knowing that, right, we can recognize it, which is good. So the next time you're about to engage on an argument and you think hey, 1 second, is it an actual argument that we have now? Is it an actual debate, or is it just a status flex? You could look for a few things. For example, very common are face attacks. Yeah, when someone really tries to attack you, for example, you clearly don't understand the basic facts about that. Come on, seriously, you don't know. Yeah, that's an attack on someone's face. You don't know what you're talking about. Moral positioning is also very common. You believe that? Only someone with no ethics would believe that. Seriously, what is wrong with you? So moral positioning. In-group signaling is also very, very common. Really? That's what you think? Come on, we all in-group, right? We all know the truth here. You think this? Come on, please. Okay, in-group signaling. The receipt theater, I smile because lots of podcasters do that. Curated proof drops that serve the narrative, not clarity. You just add more okay, and then he said this at this point, then he said this at that point, and then he said this here, and then he did that. I have a tweet from 2022, and I have this email from 1997, and then if you connect it, we can clearly see. So you're dropping proof that's curated to fit your narrative, and you try to overwhelm whoever's arguing with you with like facts that are factual, but just like curated so that it fits your narrative. And the last thing, I think it's very common, are just like exit declarations. You see it all the time, right? Educate yourself. I'm out of here. I'm not interacting with you anymore. You're stupid. Just educate yourself. Come on. Right? So those are typical signs when someone's trying to status flex and just try to win the argument without actually engaging in an argument or debate. Because the moment the argument stops being about this shared understanding that we would want to have from arguments and debates, it starts being about public performance, right? And once it's a public performance, you're not in a conversation anymore. There's no conversation left to be had, right? Because if someone's performing, they don't want to listen to you, they don't want to respond to you. I mean, they want to respond just to make their point, but they don't listen to actually listen, right? Because once this performance starts, we call it you're in a phase negotiation spiral. That's what we call it, and there's nothing to be won if you interact with that. You know, nobody wins in those phase negotiation spirals because we're all just trying to look as good as possible without listening to each other. So now the question is, of course, as we're coming to an end, can real conversations actually happen online? And I think they can, but only if you actively break that media system cycle. Still wearing my tinfoil hat. So how? Well, I think there are a few strategies that we could all use to make it work. One being low face stakes. If we admit that we're wrong early on, we can remove ego from discussion. Once we're in that hole real deep, we're not going to admit that we're digging the wrong way. We're like, no, I keep digging until I find something. But early on, you're just like starting to dig and you're looking in the hole and you're like, oh, wait, there's nothing there. Oh, I was wrong all along. Oh, no problem. I look somewhere else. Thank you for pointing it out. Then we remove our ego, then we can actually have a conversation. If we minimize the audience, you take the conflict off stage, maybe do it via DMs if you have an actual point to be made. Like, hey, I saw what you were saying. I think this. Then you can have an actual discussion. And it's about the point that you're discussing, not that thousands of people see you making that point. So that also tells you, are you really interested in the point that's being made, or are you just there to perform? Focus on curiosity, not certainty. Ask sincere questions, not leading questions. If you're asking leading questions, like just to lead someone on into, where they're going to lead to so that you look good, why do you even bother, right? It's just, again, performing. And most importantly, most difficult, disconnect your belief from your identity. Remember that disagreement doesn't equal attack. Someone disagrees with you, they don't hate you, they don't attack your personality, they don't attack you as a person. They just have a different opinion, and it's totally fine. And then we can talk about it and can hopefully learn from each other. Why do you think that? Oh, I think it because that. Wow, oh, interesting, never thought about this. Oh, me neither. Great. In other words, you have to fight the urge to perform, okay? Don't perform. And you have to accept one thing. You will look weaker in the metrics of outrage culture if you actually fight the urge to perform. But in reality, you'll be stronger because you learn something. You grow as a person. So what do you want? Do you want to look good online? Do you want to have your outrage culture metrics go through the roof? Or do you actually want to grow, learn, become a better person? Red pill or blue pill, the choice is yours, okay? So all that said, right? Let's bring it to a close. Winning arguments online doesn't make you smarter, right? Performing loyalty louder doesn't make you safer. Performing certainty doesn't make you more right. So the real flex, in my opinion, is resisting that whole game entirely. Because in a world that's like ours, that's obsessed with visibility, humility is invisible, and that's why it's so powerful. So next time someone's trying to drag you into like a public war of facts and faces, maybe, and just maybe, the best move will be silence.